So for the agents and buyers who are working together towards the inevitable goal of purchasing a home, leaving everybody happy, there are a couple of working relationship tips that must be established up front in order to have a successful working relationship. Obviously, our main mission as agents, if you're a buyer, is to get you into a home that you like and are happy living in for the next 10, 20, 30 years, or whatever goal fits you. So for the agents out there, you must understand that the way you think and your personal preferences for things should not interfere with the buyer's objective of finding the home that they wish, right? And that's a mistake that a lot of other agents make when working with buyers, is that they let their personal preferences bleed into the search criteria of the buyer, right? So take, for example, this situation I have with this buyer, which is the reason why I created this video. The previous agent that they worked with in the beginning of this year was so stringent and constricting in the selection of homes that he sent the buyers that the buyers were starting to get a little annoyed that their home search was lasting longer than expected, right? The buyers prefer to have fixer-upper homes, not completely run down, but something that you could customize as time goes on, something that's not turnkey, kind of like this home here. Move-in ready, fresh paint, nothing needs to be done to the place. They didn't want that. They wanted something different. The agent, however, had the opposite perspective. He wanted something that was clean, move-in ready, didn't have to do a lot of repairs, etc. You can see the difference, right? Now, the mistake that he made, I'm assuming, was that he confused his own personal preferences for listings with that of the buyers, which in turn limited his horizons, you could say, of finding homes for the buyers, right? And I find myself making this mistake too much, or not too much, but time and again, when I start to create this story in my mind of why this house doesn't fit that buyer. That's a mistake you can make as a buyer's agent frequently, by creating this story in your head of why this house doesn't fit their needs. Either because there's no fireplace, the rooms are too small, it's 1,150 square feet instead of 1,200 or more, like the buyer said. You can't really constrict yourself on too many of these things because you never know what options are out there, right? Let's take, again, the same buyer that I talked about a few seconds ago in the escrow that we are currently in, right? They all told me, both husband and wife, that they wanted 1,200 square feet or more for their next home. I said, okay, cool. I set up the search for 1,200 square feet. These listings came up. I saw a home on Saturday and it looked like it fit their needs, but there was another home just behind it that was a little bit lower in price, and it wasn't 1,200 square feet, it was around 1,100, but it fit their needs and what their preferences were. So stepping outside of the box of their search criteria in some cases may work in your favor, because you never know. The story that you create in your own head, or the stories that the buyers created inside their own heads, might be limiting them to the inventory that is out there in the market. That's why you as a real estate agent must anticipate and sort of predict or get creative, step out of the box, you name it, when it comes to finding the buyers their next home, right? Don't be so stringent and constricting. I would much rather be a buyer's agent who has a wide perspective of things rather than a narrow one, because I would much rather have to spend more time selecting properties than be too narrow and miss the ones that actually fit the buyer's needs. Right? Of course, as time goes on, you start to constrict the search criteria, because the more you work with them, I'm assuming, the better you get to know them, right? And as a buyer, if you're watching this, lay out your expectations, right? As real estate agents, we want buyers to be upfront and honest about what they're looking for. And it doesn't help us when you hide some of these things that you're looking to do. It just makes our time, or it just makes us spend more time working with you, which we don't mind. But we can shorten that length of time searching for homes and getting you into escrow if everything is laid out on the table, which is what I do for my buyers. I tell them what to expect, what the process is going to be like, where your money is spent, where you are at risk, and how I search for properties. I'm going to broaden the horizons, not necessarily constrict them, right? So that's just a couple of tips that I have in establishing a successful working relationship, or at least a better one, right? Proper communication is the thing that gets buyers and agents to work together very well, right? So as always, if you guys have any questions, concerns, anything to share with me, just leave it in the comments below. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care.